So I know in the video that I made where I talked about revoking my authority, I realized I didn't go into a whole lot of details and kind of explain what happened. And I feel like I said, as I'm going to make these videos where I've talked about, anything that can help somebody, figured I'd throw a video together for you and just talk about some of the reasons why I revoked my authority, why my business failed. So let me tell you all about it coming up on Ride with Kev. Well, what is going on YouTube? Time for another one. To the new subscribers, welcome in. Usual suspects, welcome back. You know how we do it. Like I said in the intro, I figured, you know what, let me throw this together and actually talk about some of the reasons because I read every comment on every one of my videos. So I kind of see where people are saying, I see where they don't understand what I was saying, or maybe I didn't explain something very well. And so we'll talk about a couple. There's one main reason, shocker, you'll know what it is. But so I'm going to go into some of the things that I did wrong. Now, these are not necessarily the reason why I canceled. They are things that made my life difficult in trucking. And the first one, as you noticed, and as I get criticized for a lot of the time, is my wanderlust in my heart. I like new things. I like exciting. I like change. It doesn't bother me. Risks don't bother me. And people noticed and said that, I had flatbed, I had reefer, and I did power only. Now, power only is a new authority I would not recommend. There's just not enough people to work with. Thinking about doing a broker video. I haven't decided on that one yet. But, I enjoyed that flatbed. But as y'all saw, some of the guys have been around a while. I went and bought that flatbed. And that was a big investment. And yeah, I made money on it when I sold it because I bought it right. And then I went to the reefer, and that reefer was an absolute nightmare. I absolutely bought the wrong reefer. Was looking at one that was about 20,000, and this one popped up, and I thought they were the same, and inspection, and it looked good. And as you guys know, I had nothing but headaches with that. And then I went power only because I had been at it about a year, and I should have rented a trailer. Since I didn't know what I didn't know, I could have rented a flatbed a whole lot cheaper than buying and registering and weighing, and all this stuff was costing me time. Every time I had to sell something, every time I had to sell the reefer and try and get it fixed and road repairs, I spent a lot of money sitting and waiting trying to get stuff sold. Same thing with my first truck. My first truck, she sure looked good, but it's probably the wrong truck. The prime truck that I bought, I didn't sell on prime, but the prime truck that I got second, and I saw all the comments about how I got, screwed in the trade-in. Y'all don't know the headaches that truck was. I didn't tell y'all everything that was wrong with that truck. And the money I put down on this was about what it would have taken to fix that before any other future problems. That was just to fix the problems that it currently had. And so I did a lot of equipment swapping, and that cost me a lot of time, energy, and headache, and was probably not a good thing for my business. I should have bought a better truck the first time and stuck with it longer, absolutely. I should have rented a trailer till I figured out exactly what I wanted to do. And then I probably would have saved a lot of time and headache. That was more, I turned orange. You can tell what kind of truck just passed. That was definitely a hindrance to my company. So, suggestion, don't box yourself in, but stick with stuff, figure stuff out. It would definitely make your life a whole lot easier than what I went through. The second issue that I had that really hurt my business, and this is completely out of my control, but I did make one bad decision, and I've talked about it before. I'll talk about it in a little more detail this time, is trucking insurance. The first year I went with a company, I'm not going to put them on blast. I probably should, but they were just a headache. But it was an agency that was selling products. If you don't necessarily go through Progressive to buy Progressive. You get you an agency. And so I had Progressive for my first year. They are the newest for trucking companies. Now, again, we'll go full disclosure here. My first year as a brand new authority, no matter how long you've been trucking, you're still the new guy on the block. My first year was $24,000. And that was for the $1 million. That was all my coverages with, and they were all with Progressive. Now, as I have said, for my first year, I didn't know who I could and couldn't work with because as a new authority, there's not a whole lot of people that you can work with. And nobody ever said a thing about my insurance. And as I got to a little bit around that year mark, when I came up for renewal and my phone blew up, I was like, man, Progressive, they've been good to me. And Progressive went, for me, from 24,000 down to 17,000.
You have 2 hours left on your shift.
I have 2 hours left. I have no hours left on my shift because of my drive time. Thank you. And so it went down to 17,000, which when I was comparative, that was actually better. I was looking at Great West and Geico and all those, and they were all $27,000, $28,000 for insurance. So I thought $17,000 was a heck of a deal. And as you guys who've been around a while know, what happened was I started running into brokers that would say, we won't work with Progressive. You would literally see it. No Landstar, no dispatching services, no Progressive. It would be in the notes for Lowe's. And so I started all these brokers that I had lined up that I could now work with because I had over a year, but none of them worked with me because I had Progressive insurance. Something about paying for claims, I'm sure that's an issue, right? And so last year, it came time for renewal. And I was calling around, and I got my renewal from Progressive, and it went up to $29,000. No accidents, no lost claims, no changes, no nothing. That's just what they raised my insurance to after 2 years. And so I called Great West. They were $33,000. Geico was $31,000. And I called 10-4 Insurance. And I talked to a gentleman named Larry. Everybody should talk to Larry. And he came in and he said, we got this quote. It's $24,000, which, again, we're talking on the brand new truck. We were from 1724. We're talking about the brand new 2026 at the time that I'd had for 2 months. He goes, that's your full coverage. That's the $2 million aggregate, so you can work with Amazon. That's everything. $24,000. I was like, well, it looks like we're going there. I didn't want to talk to these other people. They weren't working. And the agency that I was with said, hey, you going to go with us? I was like, no, look, I told you I'm not going Progressive. I've got 10-4 lined up. They are $24,000. And in this, in dealing with Larry, did come out, full disclosure, again, I'm not getting paid to do none of this, that they were not approved with Landstar. You couldn't haul Landstar freight with 10-4 insurance. I'm not saying you can't work for Landstar and use 10-4. I'm just saying at that time, and this was 6 months ago now at this point, that was the only thing. They went through all my other brokers, said, you're perfectly good. And so at the last second, the agency I was with called and said, hey, we got you a quote for $23,500 with it was Cimarron Insurance and somebody else. I don't remember their name off the top of my head. They had divided my insurance up and said, we got you down to $23,500. I said, well, I've got them for 24 and I don't want to, I'm going to go, no, hold on. We'll go back. And this was like the day before my stuff expired. I'm like waiting to sign with 10-4. And they said, all right, we got it down to $23,000. So you're going to save $1,000 going with this insurance company. I was like, you know what? It's not Progressive. It's the same coverages, and I can still work with Landstar. Hold that thought. And so I signed up with this agency who, again, the name that should not be mentioned, and I signed up with them. And I got my new thing, and went through all this, jumped through all the hoops, got all my certificates of insurance, book on down the road. Right? And so I booked, and I guess it takes the system a while to update, and then came July, and I went to book a load with Landstar, and I said, sorry, we can't use you. What do you mean you can't use me? Your insurance company is an A or B plus rated with some, whatever the insurance rating scale is, they're below AB, whatever that means. So, yeah, you can't haul for us. Okay, found a Schneider load. Sorry, your insurance company is a C tier, they're not AB, you can't haul for us. So all those new brokers I was going to get, I couldn't haul for them. Now, they were new brokers. Now, I could still haul TQL. I could still haul with a couple of ones I won't name because they're my buddies. I could also haul with Amazon. So we went over to Amazon. They had the insurance, but that insurance debacle actually cost us several of the brokers we thought we were going to work with. So make sure with your insurance that you can work with who you want to work with, one. But two, it's going to be expensive, and it keeps going up. And I was like, I don't understand why my insurance went up to $29,000 with Progressive when I had done nothing wrong. But you've seen the billboards. Somebody got to pay for those big truck accident billboards, I guess. And so that didn't help things. I also talked about the massive freight slowdown because, again, I'm spot market. That's all I have when you're your own authority and you don't have customers. We'll get there in a minute. You're on the spot market, and I just saw a nosedive in the spot market. I used to do a lot of loads for companies that all of a sudden they didn't have anything like they used to have. And so, the equipment things where I got behind, the insurance cost, the broker things, that made me take a hard look at my business, which we will now come to reason number 2 that I had to cancel my FMCSA authority. And you're looking at it, and most of you already knew that. But I want to explain what I mean in that. You have to know who you are. And the good Lord up above gave me a gift. Now I'm going to toot my horn, and I hate doing that. This is highly uncomfortable, but I'm trying to help somebody out there. And I'm one of those weirdos that I love solving problems. I love taking the pieces and moving this around when this goes wrong. But people have problems in their life. A lot of my close friends, they tend to call me because I don't get too high, I don't get too low, and I like to look and move the chess pieces around, and that's kind of fun for me. I don't mind solving problems. I was a very successful operations manager. I enjoyed operations. I still enjoy operations as an owner operator. But I absolutely suck as a salesperson. I tried sales, and everybody in the world is like, why would you try sales? That's not what you're good at. Because I'm not. I would go on the load board and see loads, and it would say, call, email, and I would click the email button. I don't like talking on the phone. I don't really like talking to people. Well, guess what? That makes it very, very hard to network and grow a business when you don't like dealing with people. And I don't have anybody in my life who's in a position to say, hey, they're going to help me build my business and they're going to do this. My wife's one of the best salespeople on the planet. She doesn't have time to help me. She got to sell her stuff, and then running the operations is great. But UCR registration and IFTA, I was up for an IFTA audit before I canceled my authority, and I'm not scared of IFTA. IFTA is easy, but that's a headache. And dealing with the online Texas license plates, I'm an operations guy. I'm not a paperwork guy from that standpoint. So part of the reason that my business and the reason I had to cancel my FMCSA authority is because I realized very quickly I'm not good at it. I'm good. If somebody had an established business, operationally, I can run the ever-living stuff out of it. But starting a business, turns out I'm not that good at it. Running a business from the big sky CEO perspective, turns out I'm not that good at it. And reason number 3 that I canceled my FMCSA authority, and I've said this before in the past, is if you ever realize you're going down the wrong road, how long till you turn around? If this is a great smooth road, 80 miles an hour, but I'm going the wrong way, what's the point? And it became very clear after more discussions and trying to figure out, and if you want to grow a business, you got to add drivers. Well, I have a personal responsibility any driver I add. I had multiple people ask to lease onto my authority. And I was like, no, this market, and I realized very rapidly, I didn't want to own a trucking company. Now, I own a trucking company that is leased on to Crete, and I love that because I get to run the operations side. I'm not out acquiring customers. I'm not having to do a lot of stuff. Now, I can load plan my loads. I can run my hours. I'll be home tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the morning. We're going to have a great Thanksgiving. But I just kind of realized I like being an owner-operator. But I like being an owner-operator who lets other people worry about the small stuff. Could I make more money as a company driver? Maybe. Did I have to get the most expensive truck? I don't know. I love driving this truck. I'm happy with my truck. I don't mind working to pay for this truck because I love this truck so much. Those are decisions only you can answer for yourself and only you'll know. But when you think you want to get your own authority, make sure you got to remember you're going to be a salesperson. You got to make connections. You got to run all the minutia paperwork. I just realized I didn't want that. And that's the great thing about life. Life allows you to change your mind. You can turn around and go the other direction. You can lease on to a customer. I can start my own authority back up tomorrow and hold a lot more of TQL loads. But anyway, you see what I'm saying. I made a life decision. I've done my own thing. I will never spend the rest of my life going, wonder if I could have my own trucking company. I'll spend the rest of my life going, yeah, I tried to start a trucking company and realized I didn't want to do that. So you can only do what you can do. We're out here having a blast. Next video will be a little different one with some Thanksgiving stuff, and then we'll be right back here at it. So y'all take care. God bless. Let's get rolling.